What's the purpose behind the marketing plan? You excite, you educate, experience, and engage. Let's do this, right? Let's do this and let's have fun with it too. To my first-time listeners, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate you being here. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Marketing with In-Depth Podcast, where I'm your host, Nathan Webster, and I'm excited to chop it up with you today. Today, for episode 247, oh my gosh, this has been, it seems like so many things have been keeping this from happening, multiple reschedules, and I am so excited to have our infamous, notorious Mac Prichard from Mac's List on the show today. Welcome to the show, Mac.
Well, thanks, and it's just an honor to be called both infamous and notorious in the same sentence. Thank you, Nathan. I love it.
Hey, you are in the least in the Portland market. Not really great at HR or staffing, anything in regards to that outside of the Portland metro area. But I do know if you got Mac Prichard in the room, he's about to drop some serious diamonds.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the welcome, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Absolutely. So for our first-time guests, thank you for tuning into our show. I appreciate you joining. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit review, like, share the show. And I should say, with the caveat, if you have gained something from this time with us today, we always try to make this something that is so simple that you can apply it, because we know there's a lot of ambiguity in marketing. And I know today we're going to talk about the ambiguity in the marketing of yourself. Ambiguity is one thing. It's a hard word to say at times when you're trying to say it fast. But the second thing, it scares a lot of people away from doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is being unapologetically you. So if you are enjoying it, please rate, like, share, and submit a review. And of course, Mac is going to give his information so you can follow him, you can connect with him. And also for my worldwide returning listeners, I couldn't do this without you. Thank you again for sharing the show. Thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for reviewing the show. Thank you for giving me the motivation needed to keep it going. Okay, so I want to make sure I get my housekeeping, because I want to make sure to my listeners out there, I give you the love. But I'm excited to get this show on the road, because, if you are one of those folks that are looking to up your game and figure out what are some things, as in a hiring team, a small business, if you are looking to grow your business, there are some things, as I've learned I've learned a lot when I was in the corporate leadership, is you are slow to hire and fast to fire. And I'm sure you're going to talk about that. But Mac, I want to give you the platform. Please tell the listeners who you are and what you do.
I'm the founder and CEO of maxlist.org. It's a regional job board, Nathan, based in Portland, Oregon. We serve employers and job seekers in those both Oregon and Washington State. And our mission is to make hiring more human and help people find jobs that matter.
More human. I love it. No AI.
No. It's ultimate. In the end, hiring really centers around relationships. And we can talk more about the power of referrals and connections. And the best hires have a human element is central to it. And we work to accomplish that mission, Nathan, through not only a regional job board that has almost 1,000 positions in the 2 states, but we provide lots of content about how to look for work and how to hire smarter. And we do that because people who are good at job search skills make better candidates, and they have more rewarding careers. And the kind of content we provide includes free articles on our website. We have a couple of books about looking for work, both in Portland and across the U.S., online courses, and a weekly career advice podcast called Find Your Dream Job. And every week I talk to a different career expert about the nuts and bolts of job search. And we're going to celebrate our 10th anniversary of the show in October. And I think you've been doing this for 10 years as well, maybe longer.
just the business. The business has been alive for 10 years, but the
Yeah.
podcast is a year behind it. So I'm
9 years is impressive, Nathan.
thank
You're,
you.
yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
that's what we do at Max List.
and can you tell the listeners how you got into this? Like, what was your journey of starting this job board, then the podcast? And I know you do a lot of other things I know we'll get into, but can you tell the listeners how you got into this journey?
I'm an accidental job board operator, and for listeners who might think, what is a job board exactly? Think about Indeed or LinkedIn, or people of a certain age might remember Monster, which is still out there. It's a good site,
Yeah.
but these are platforms that provide job listings. And I came to this work after a career working in communications for elected officials in politics, for nonprofits and government agencies. And I ran my own public relations firm for 15 years. And for a period, I ran two companies, both Max List and Prichard Communications. I closed the PR firm 2 years ago after a successful 15-year run.
Wow, that's
And
crazy. 15 years.
yeah,
Congrats on
it
that.
is. I had a great team and great clients, and it was a wonderful journey. And I just am trying to simplify my life. So running one business keeps me more than busy. But the constant running through all the jobs I've had is trying to make a difference about issues I care about, or helping people in the community where I work and live, and ideally both. And when you're running a job board, you're helping people find work, and that's a life-changing event and it's good not only for the candidates but for the employers as well. And I will say, a successful job board is really an online community, and so people like us who have marketing, communications, public relations skills, and I had experience organizing in politics as well. Those are all experiences and skills that lend themselves to creating a successful job board. So it feels very natural for me to do this.
Okay, man, that's wow. I would love to unpack that because it sounds like you. I mean, even from the first time I met you, when you were speaking at an engagement, you're very open and engaging to where some people, when they get done speaking off a panel, they kind of like they quickly jet to the car. They don't make time to network. And you was always there trying to help people, and that's a whole nother conversation. I do want to get into. I just want to make sure the listeners understand, like, the folks that I have on my show are very generous with their time. I know Mac has been doing this. I know he gets paid, but not for everything he does. And so when you say it's a life-changing event, I just want to make sure you guys get ready to take some notes, because he's been doing this for a long time. And Mac, do you know how many people you've helped?
We get about 60,000 people a month who come to the website. We have 7,000 people who subscribe to our newsletter that goes out every week with that week's new jobs.
Wow.
I would estimate thousands. And again, we've been doing this, the team and I, for more than 20 years in one form or another. It's been a business since 2010. Before that, I was sharing job posts informally. And I will say, Nathan, I'm so grateful for the career I've had. I've had a lot of success. I've had 2 long periods of unemployment as well. So I know what it's like to cash the last unemployment check and keep looking. And a second time, I came within one check of doing that. And those experiences taught me the importance of networking and connecting with others. And as you know, Nathan, good networkers, they not only ask for help, they help others. And service is a very important value for myself personally and for our work at Max List and everybody on the team.
Man, okay. I just wanted to tee it off correctly for you listeners out there to understand that if you are needing help wherever you that's not proper English, wherever you may be, please make sure you get in contact with Mac if you need help. He is here to help you. So, Mac, I know you're going to go into it, but before you do, can you please tell the listeners how they can find you?
Connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message when you send your LinkedIn invitation. And if you have a question about job search or hiring, I'd love to answer it. You can also email me directly, Nathan. My email address is on the website. It's not a
Oh,
secret. Yeah. It's just my name, MAC, at maxlist.org, MACSLIST.org.
wow, you're brave giving out your email. I'm sure you get lots of
It's
spam.
been there for years.
All right. So no longer delaying the juicy ooey goodness that of diamonds you're about to drop. So when we talk about hiring mistakes to avoid, what are they?
Well, before we do that, I can go through the list, but I do want to say something about hiring. I think there are
Please,
three key ideas here.
please do.
The first is nobody benefits from a bad hire. It's not good for the candidate. It's not good for the employer. It's also expensive for a business. But it takes some months to find somebody, and then it usually takes 3 to 6 months to figure out that it's not a good fit. So there's people get hired for a reason to solve problems. There's work that needs to be done, and that work gets delayed during the hiring. And then if things don't work out, maybe the work isn't completed and that it remains undone. So everybody wants to avoid a bad hire. The second point I want to make, I know this, we work with a lot of small businesses at Max List. And as you know, Nathan, typically an organization doesn't add an HR professional until it has 25 employees or more. Sometimes it's 20, but because of this, a lot of hiring happens haphazardly. And it happens because the person who's putting together the posting, who's advertising and managing the review of the applications and organizing the interviews, they haven't been trained in those things. They got hired because they're a bookkeeper or an office manager or a communications professional who's now going to hire a deputy, whatever the occupation might be. And so it's important. Some organizations will never have an HR professional, but you can learn basic hiring skills, whatever your occupation. And just as you need to learn job search skills when you're thinking about your career and what you want to do next, or improve those skills if you have them, you got to do the same with hiring. And the third point I want to make, after nobody benefits from a bad hire and too much hiring happens haphazardly, is hiring is a brand experience. And whatever experience you have as a candidate, you're going to remember. And if it's good or bad, and you're going to tell your family, your friends, and your coworkers about it. So it's in the interest of both the employer and the candidate to provide a good experience. And but especially for employers, you want to treat applicants well. And it's not only the professional thing to do, it's good for your brand and it's good for your business.
I'm not going to say too much on that, but I do believe I can't not say anything. Talking about the brand experience, it doesn't matter if someone's working at a lower level position to a higher level. If they get onto a male position or custodial position at Nike to a VP position, they are excited because of the brand they are associated with. So they're telling everybody. So your brand is so powerful internally. This is internal marketing that sometimes I have to tell companies, it's like, I can't help you with your external marketing until we deal with your internal marketing. And that's you working on your HR, so your culture. So I don't want to take anything away from what you were saying, but when we and it's not a but, it's a and. When we talking about marketing, don't think that it has to do with only exclusively people outside your four walls. It starts with the four walls of the folks who are working for you.
I agree very much. And I've certainly had this experience as an employer. I expect you have too, where when you do communicate well with people, and in the end, there are usually 3 finalists for a position, and you have to you offer the position to one person, and then you have to call the other 2. And that's hard because obviously they're well qualified, they're enthusiastic, and you were enthusiastic about talking with them. But if if you want someone to say, well, I'm really sorry to get that news, but I appreciate the way you've managed the hiring process.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you can make that happen by treating people well, and to treat people well, it's just basic stuff, Nathan. It's telling them what your timetable is for interviewing candidates, when you're going to make decisions, how people can follow up with you. I always encourage employers to outline every step of the process and give an email or even a cell phone if somebody has a question. I've done that for years, and I've rarely had anybody call me, but they feel like they can, and that creates a positive experience. And the other thing I'll say is you never know. Somebody might be a finalist and you don't hire them, but you may hire them later, or you may end up working with them later, or they may be a prospective client.
You may hire them a year from now, or
Exactly.
but I will say, in our marketing world, this is where I come to when people are asking, how can we help them out? Part of it is business development. And what you mentioned was standard operating procedures for onboarding a new, like we have for a new client, but onboarding a new employees. That's basic business development.
Yeah. Yeah. Just as you put together a marketing plan for your organization, you need to put together a hiring plan and share it with the people who are involved. And it needs to be specific about what's going to happen when and who's going to do what. And you need to share that timetable with the candidates so they know what to expect, and so they can show their best selves.
Yeah.
Too many organizations, I think it happens inadvertently, but they treat hiring like some kind of mysterious process, and they hold back information, and there's no reason to do that. Again, think about it as a brand experience, and while many people will apply and will be disappointed because they're not hired, you want them to at least have a good experience with the interviews and the applications, and know that you communicated well and you treated them fairly and you were open about what you were doing.
I think, to answer your question as a knee jerk, it wasn't a question. I think it's hard for business owners, especially founders, to delegate because it's their baby. But what's the point of hiring someone if you're not going to set them up for success? And your job is not to do all the little things anymore and wear all the hats. It's time for you to delegate. So, yeah, I know that's a big one, So, these are things that I'm sure you see all the time. I know these are some hiring mistakes, but these are also, I think, fundamental business mistakes too for companies.
Yeah. And why don't we dig in, if you're ready, to
let's go.
mistakes.
Let's go.
These are very tactical.
Okay.
But and this is informed by my experience running the job board at Max List, and we love our customers, and so we provide lots of information about how to avoid these mistakes. But we do see people make them regularly, and I think the number one mistake, Nathan, is not having a clear job title. Too many organizations use these ambiguous titles, or maybe there's some reason that they've got to call a communications position a policy analyst 5. And the problem with this is most candidates only look at the title before they click through. And if the title isn't clear, you're going to miss out on likely on some great people. So whatever the position is, describe it in plain English.
All I can think of is all those government job postings that are like level 2, 3, like you said, 5. It's like, how am I? And then you say and then you get into the job description. And it's like, you have to have, it's an internal candidate really, but they have to post it. So it's like, so I wasted my time on this. And then it's like, man, I don't know if I even want to work for these people because it's not, yeah. So that makes sense. So that's number one. So you have to have the right job title.
Yeah. Number 2 is you need to focus on the most important requirements for the position. Too often, employers put together wish lists, or they take a position description that's been around, for 10 or 15, 20 years, and they just put it out there without revising it. And you don't want your job posting to be a wish list, because there are two problems with that. One is you a good job posting should describe the problems that you need someone to solve.
Hold on,
And
say that again for the people that.
a good job posting should describe the problems that you, the employer, want the successful applicant to solve. And too many positions don't do that. The other thing is when you have a long wish list of responsibilities and requirements, many candidates will look at that and they'll say, well, I don't have 100% of that, so I'm not going to apply. So again, you're missing out on good candidates. So keep your job postings concise and focus on what really matters in the position, not the things that might be nice to have, but what you really need to have.
And I'm sure that's going to at least lead into having a very clear job description.
Yes. And you're making an important point here, Nathan, which is a job posting is different than a job description. Usually the job posting is it's focused on attracting the right candidate, and it's informed by the specific responsibilities. A job description is more detailed and is really more of an internal document, but you need to share it with candidates as well after you've brought people in. Another mistake, and a good job posting allows space for this, is too many employers don't talk about their company's culture. They just list the position title, perhaps the salary, and roles and responsibilities. But when we survey applicants at Mac's List, and other polls bear this out as well, culture often trumps salary and candidates are considering applying for at an organization. They want to know that they're going to be working at a productive place with a good culture. And so you want to make sure that in your job postings you talk about your mission, your goals, and your values. Because that matters to candidates, and if you want to attract the best candidates, you need to do that.
We say that in marketing, we want to ensure that your vision, mission, values are in the front, and people understand, because it's not always about the salary. Of course, we need to pay our bills, but some people don't care that much about money. They don't care about necessarily the materialistic things. They just want to enjoy what they do and who they do it with. So I never even thought about that. And I don't even remember seeing some people list the culture. I just know the culture of hearing from employees, or you read on the job board what type of environment they work in. But I never thought you should post it. So I love that call out.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that people do look for that information online. I mean, Glassdoor is a good example of that. There's a whole company that is devoted to employee reviews of employers, and people go to Glassdoor and other sites like it because they want to find out about an organization's culture. The warning we all want to avoid is to have someone say, "Oh, that place is a snake pit." So, my experience is most employers have great cultures. But in order, again, to attract the best candidates, you need to talk about your culture.
And I'll say this last thing is, as I'm looking outside right now, the snow is actually coming down, and here where we're at in the Pacific Northwest, when the snow comes down, we don't have the best roads, and so does your company allow for you to work from home? Does it allow for you to take this time off? Does it force you to come in? Sometimes those are the things that you don't know, especially if you come here in the Pacific Northwest on a beautiful spring or summer day. You have no idea of the rain and this inclement weather that happens. So it is important to understand what is going to be the work-life balance of the culture you're going into.
Yeah, you're actually moving on to the next item on my list, which is you need to be clear about what on-site requirements you have when you're an employer. Uh, and if you want people to come in 1 or 3 or 5 days a week, say that. Because again, you want to attract candidates who are going to are interested in those kinds of opportunities. You don't want to get applications from people who are most interested in working 100% remote, or if you're requiring 4 days a week attendance and they want to are looking for a place where they might work 1 or 2 days a week in the office. Candidly, you don't want to hear from those candidates. So be clear about that, and be clear about what flexibility you might offer in terms of hours and schedules. Some employers allow you to shift your start and ending times, for example. And if that's the case, say that. Again,
Please.
because you'll attract the people you want to attract. And increasingly, there are employers who will say you can work remotely, but you need to be within 100 miles of the corporate headquarters. And if that's the case, again, be specific about what you need.
I've never seen that, but I mean, obviously, I don't do what you do, so that's a good.
Yeah.
And that's an easy way. I know working, being on the hiring committee at the colleges. They try. It was always frustrating when they had to fail a search because they didn't get enough people, and a lot of it was because bad job titles. It wasn't clear. It was, yeah, just frustrating. So I'm learning a lot, man. This is great. What's the next one?
Salary range. So you're in Washington State. Washington is one of 10 states in the United States that now require publicly advertised jobs to include salary ranges. Oregon doesn't have that law, along with 39 other states. The reason you want to include a salary range, whatever your state or city law might be, is because you'll get more applicants, and you'll get the right applicants. Because when you post a position and you only want to pay X number of dollars, you want to hear from people who are interested in that salary range. You don't want to hear from people who want $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 more than that. And you don't. So say that up front, what the position is going to pay. I found that employers candidly they'll say, well, we don't want to do that. We want to negotiate. I found that every employer has a budget. They know there's some figure they've connected with the position. And so they already have a salary range in mind. In fact, if they're really doing their work well, they've actually gone out and looked at what the market pays. They haven't simply taken the old salary and adjusted it for inflation. Maybe it's a position that's been there for many years. Because when you as an employer, you research what the market's paying, you'll arrive at a competitive figure, and you want to be competitive, so you attract the best people. The other reason you want to include the salary range is you'll get more applications. We see this in our surveys. I've seen it in other polling data as well. The majority of applicants expect to see a salary range. And if you don't include one as an employer, there's a survey by JobSite that found that applications go down 25 to 35%.
Oh, wow.
I hear from employers all the time, I want more applications. Well, this is a surefire way to get them, and you're also going to get the right applications.
Interesting. Yeah, I knew it was a requirement, and if I was looking for a job, I don't think I would spend much time if they didn't say what I was working, because that's like the worst. That is the worst. I guess kind of you get so far in the interview and then you find out that it's like, what? Oh no. Yeah.
We've all had that experience, haven't we?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yes.
And it's not a good use of your time as a candidate, and for the employer, again, we're talking about hiring mistakes to avoid. It's not a good use of your time as a hiring manager. Why invest time in interviewing someone whose salary requirements are significantly higher than what you want to offer? Wish them well. Go land
Yeah.
somewhere else. But yeah, so that's a big one. I think another mistake is you make it hard as an employer to apply for your jobs. Sometimes
Mm,
application instructions aren't clear. You don't say exactly what you want. And if you do want a cover letter, say so. If you don't want a cover letter, say so. And you'll
mm.
save the applicant time in creating one and guessing. And candidly, you also want to make it easy for people to apply. Typically, a resume and a cover letter or filling out a simple online application is more than enough to make informed decisions about whether you should interview someone. And too many employers ask for work samples, portfolios, responses to essay questions. These are burdensome requirements for people you haven't even interviewed yet. And again, if you want to cast the net wide and get the right kind of applications from the people you want to hear from, you need to make it easy for people to apply.
On that note, and I'm sure you're probably going to get to it, but I remember my son's first job was McDonald's, and he applied using his cell phone. He didn't even use a computer, so I think modality of making sure that anyone can do it, just as long as they can remember their username and password, they can upload from the cloud and whatever the case may be. It makes a big difference because not everyone has computers.
Yeah, yeah. And by, again, being online, you can allow for applications like that from people using their smartphones. Another mistake is employers who just rely on job boards alone to generate applications.
Mm, mm,
You, I want the listeners to step back and think about how hiring works and think about the power of referrals and connections. Because in the end, when you get 25, 50, 75 applications and you're reviewing them, if one of the applications comes from somebody inside your organization who's referred that person, you're going to you're going to take a much more serious look at that because of that recommendation by someone you trust. And so you don't want to rely on recommendations haphazardly.
mm,
You want to tap into your network as an employer. So you make sure that in addition to advertising on job boards like Mac's List, that you also ask in a systematic way the people inside your company for referrals, as well as share your postings with colleagues and trusted contacts, because these are people who know what you do, they know your company culture, they know what it's like to work with you, and that knowledge is invaluable, and it's going to help them think about and refer to you people who are going to fit inside that culture, who
mm,
are going to be comfortable with your management style, and and why not tap into that knowledge? And you
mm.
can do that by, in addition to job boards, leveraging your network.
I love that. Next, that I
Yeah.
don't think there's much to explain on that one or elaborate. What's it? And just for numbers sake, how many do you have? With how many tips?
Oh, I have a list of 12, but we don't have to go through them all. In fact, we can wrap it up because I know I think we're past time. So,
We are past time, but this has been great. I think. I mean, is there any other one that really stands out that you haven't gotten to?
this should probably be at the top of the list. It's you don't communicate with candidates. This is what's called the black hole. So this is goes back to the brand experience. If you're an employer and you post a job, you need to acknowledge every application. Too many employers don't. And so candidates are left wondering what happened to my application. And, if you're applying for a job with an organization, you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'd like to work there. You're imagining working there. And you're excited about the possibility. You want to explore it. And then you never hear back. You get ghosted. And so, what kind of reaction are you going to have? You're going to be personally disappointed. You're
Yeah.
going to be frustrated, and you're not going to think highly of that employer. But you need to communicate with applicants not only because it's a good business practice, it's just the right thing to do, Nathan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's so many ways in a professional, so many tools rather, that you can use with technology to automate your response, but you can do it in a professional way. You can so that it's not just a bleak one sentence email. And again, these are people who are applying who may end up working for your organization in the future. Why wouldn't you want to engage them in a productive way?
So I did have some questions because I think what gets super important for small businesses that feel and founders that feel like they have to do all of this on their own. I wonder, being that you said you don't have HR until you hire 25 employees and you have a team. It might be different now in this gig economy, but when is the right time to start maybe to hire your first person, and what does that structure look like?
Well, I think when you get to the 20, 25 person staffing level, it makes sense because for a number of reasons, you're offering benefit programs, 401k, health
Okay.
insurance. You need to create systematic onboarding programs. Many organizations, but I would also argue, Nathan, even if you only have a few employees, you can do all of these. You can do the basics well. Anybody can learn how to do this, just like any small business owner can learn basic marketing, basic sales techniques, basic financial management, and you need to invest time into doing it. And you can hire people to help you on a ad hoc basis as well. But you just can't wing it.
Is this something you do then along with the job boards?
We have a section on our website where we provide information like similar to what I've shared today about best hiring practices, again, because so many of our customers are small. And certainly there are HR consultants out there you can work with as well. But I would challenge a listener who might have 3, 5, 7 employees to invest the time to learn how to do this, because it's writing a clear job description is a good business practice. You don't have to be an HR expert to do that. You have to start with the problems you want the position to solve. You need to research what the market pays for the
Yeah.
skills that you're requiring, and you want to know that number because you want to attract the best candidates. You want by paying a competitive salary. Obviously, you don't want to overpay or underpay. So I think there are lots of online resources and people who can help, but in the end, particularly if you're a small employer, I think it's table stakes just to invest in learning how to do these things.
All right. So, on a high level recap, because I think it's really important that folks understand this is not a light work task. This is something that is an investment. This is going to impact your company forever and ever. And even though you didn't say it, as we all know, you hiring someone can make and break the company. So you need to find the right people to do that, because finding the right people is hard to find. And if you don't set them up for success, which really setting yourself up for success in the beginning by hiring having the right operating processes in place. And if you need help, you can go to Mac. But I love how, Mac, you're staying in your lane. Like, look, this is He was like, that's a whole nother ball game, which I totally understand that. Like when we come to marketing, like we're a boutique marketing firm. We don't do all of that. If you want it done correctly, I can do halfway, but I don't think you want it halfway.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and you need to learn these skills. And the good news is, as a business owner, you can learn them. These are just good business practices, Nathan. You know, and I don't mean that in a derisive way. But writing a clear job description, communicating with candidates, including salaries,
Right.
remembering, treating people the way you want to be treated,
Right.
talking about your culture, talking about your benefits, being clear about expectations for, on-site versus remote, making it easy for people to apply for the jobs. This isn't rocket science, and so I meet small business owners who are doing this stuff every day. They know how to do it,
Yeah.
and they do it well. And so, when I find that when people come to me and they've got concerns about their recruitment, usually it's the complaints center around the number of applications they're getting or hires that didn't work out. And by following these best practices, you can get more applications and get the right applications and get the right people in place.
Yeah, sorry about that. It seems like this my phone keeps on going off and I need to make sure it does not go off. So let me turn off the sound. Apologize for
Sure,
that. But
no problem.
because that was disruptive, just the last part again about the right application, the right applicants, because I because I want to make sure that small businesses understand that, which when I go into companies and I try to help them figure out who is going to be running, they said, well, I have this person to do this person do this. It's like that's not how things work. So
Yeah.
it's I don't want to underscore undervalue what you were just saying, how every applicant can be a great asset when you bring them on as a team, but I know I'm trying to paraphrase what you said, but I sorry I don't disruptive that.
No problem. I think the point I was making was that these are best practices that I see so many small business owners follow every day. So any business owner can learn how to do this, and the benefit of follow, following these ideas, including salary range, having a clear job title, having a job posting that reflects the most important requirements and talks about your company culture. These are all steps that any business owner can learn how to do, and the benefits are you'll get better people as well as more applications from the right people. And that's what I hear advertisers on my site say they want, and when that doesn't happen, Nathan, they get frustrated. And when I look at their recruitment efforts, they're well intentioned, but often these business owners aren't following best practices. So by doing so, investing time in learning how to do hiring better and avoid these hiring mistakes, you can get the results you want. And any business owner can learn how to do this.
And where can they find you at?
Visit our website, maxlist.org. As I mentioned earlier, connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me an email. But the LinkedIn and the website are best. We do have an employer newsletter that we send out once a month. And you can, if you go to our website, you'll see a pop-up window that will allow you to subscribe to the monthly newsletter for employers. And it includes several articles every month with best practices for hiring.
This is awesome. And thank you so much. It's funny how my do not disturb on, but as I was saying to you earlier, it's just like everything and anything is going off. So I appreciate you handling all my disruptions.
Oh, it's fine. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, this has been really good. And to you businesses out there, I mean, we give you a round of applause, Mac, for the hard work, because we know with hiring, firing, resigning, retiring, it's a never ending process. And one generation can tell you one thing, to another person tell you another thing, a family member can tell you another thing. But if they want sound advice, you need to go to Mac Prichard at maxlist.com, correct?
Maxlist.org.
Oh, maxlist.org. We'll make sure to put all his contact information in the show notes below. And Mac, again, from the bottom of my heart, from Let's Talk Marketing with In-Depth podcast, I want to say thank you for coming onto the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Nathan. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And so y'all heard it first here on Let's Talk Marketing with In-Depth podcast. Make sure you reach out to him if you need help with the recruitment, with the job boarding, or if you want his skills as in tips and tricks, join his newsletter at maxlist.org. We'll put everything in the show notes, and I'm excited to able to provide this other opportunity, because we always talking about external marketing, but not internal marketing. He said from jump, it is a brand experience. I love how Mac is like, yes. All right. Until next time, y'all, I wish you nothing but the best. So dream big and Godspeed. I'm out. Hey, if you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please share this episode with others that may be interested in this topic. And also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments or social media networks. See you next week for the next episode.